Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a video covering the 3-tier tanks that are currently available for 100 million silver. That includes the Object 907, the T58 Heavy, and the SU-152 Taran. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the tanks for silver, what we're going to do is show you the 3 tanks with their crew and equipment setups, what the stats are like when they're fully equipped out, and then show you a replay in each so you get a general feel for the vehicles. I do have videos on the channel in years past showing all 3 vehicles so you can get a better feel for how they play with more replays. But like I said, the replays for this video are just generally going to be showing you how it goes. They're not going to be the most spectacular things in the universe. They might be. It might depend on what I had in the vault. But yeah, we're going to start with the 907. So the 907 is a tank that has been around for quite a while. Pretty sure it came out in the year before 6.0, and when it first came out, it really wasn't very good. But they've buffed it multiple times since, and it sits in that category where the armour on the hull is pretty troll to pen at times. You will get some very nice ricochets off this hull. The turret front is pretty good, but you've got to be careful of the cupolas on top, as they do get penned quite easily if you sit still. The camo on this vehicle is really nice. The mobility on the tank is pretty good. The gun can be a bit derpy at times for a 100mm gun, and the DPM is neither good nor is it bad. It just sits in that middle zone where you go, you know. Generally, I'm not a big fan of the 907, and that's because I'm more of a fan of heavier hitting guns, so I'm more of a fan of the Object 430U, for example, or the Object 430, which has slightly higher alpha if I was to play this kind of tank, or something like the 121, which is mental, because the 121 is okay, it's an okay tank, but I much prefer the alpha to the faster firing, lower alpha gun. But with the 907, let's talk about what I run in terms of equipment. I run the advanced loader, the optics, and the camo net. Camo net to get that 260 meters of still concealment, so that you have really good concealment, mixed with the optics to get the best out the view range at 512 meters of view range, so that I can spot people at good distances and not really get spotted myself. It helps the vehicle to be able to get good assistance damage in games, and that can be very, very nice. The advanced loader to get the best out of the DPM, as always, especially since this tank doesn't have the best DPM in the universe. It's quite nice to actually help it out. And then in terms of a commander, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Snapshot, Camouflage Expertise, and Silent Driving. Silent Driving to reduce the effect of movement on my camo by 55%. That really helps me to get in and out of positions without getting spotted. The Camouflage Expertise to get the best out of the camo, get it down to that 260 meters of still concealment. All 3 gun perks, because we're not going to run a gun stabilizer, so we want to help the gun out as much as humanly possible with all 3 gun perks. And it really does help you to just be able to run it without the gun stabilizer. And then let's have a quick look at the modules of the vehicle, because people do like to see that as well. That's the engine blocks on this tank. So you can see you pen it anywhere in those sections where you can see the blocks of the engine. You're probably going to set this tank on fire. Even though it's got a 10% internal fire chance, which you're seeing here, don't believe it. It gets set on fire all the time, as it is Soviet, and it can be pretty frustrating in that regard. And that's where the ammo racks of the tank are. So if you want to damage the ammo racks, shoot it in the sort of back mid-section here, just below where the back end of the turret is, and you will damage the ammo racks and possibly pop the lid. And that's where the crew sits in the Object 907. So let's have a quick look at the statistics of the tank now with it fully equipped out. So it's got a 55 km/h top speed, a 20 km/h reverse speed, 610 horsepower engine, which is 16.94 horsepower per ton ratio, meaning you do get to the 55 km/h top speed quite easily. The reverse speed is very, very nice. If you were to run the traction system, you would get to 60 km/h if you wanted to. Like I say, 10% internal fire chances on the low end of fire chances, but generally, don't listen to it. It does get set on fire quite a lot. You've got 54 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, so the tank does turn exceptionally quickly on its tracks, which is quite nice. Ground resistances that are very, very good. They do not hold the tank back whatsoever. 260 meters of still concealment with 271 meters of on-the-move concealment is very nice for the 907. Helps it stay unspotted in quite a few situations, and helps you to get to some very aggressive bush locations and spot out for yourself, especially with 512 meters of view range. You've got 41.27 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed, so that is way slower than the hull. So you might want to run rapid aim at some point to be able to try and get that turret traverse up even higher if you wanted to, but there's other things that you really want to try and help out on the tank. You got 0.91 accuracy during rotation, which is quite poor, realistically. It's not horrific, but it's also not great. But the thing is, we're not running the gun stabilizer. If we're running the gun stabilizer, that's going to be way lower than that. So if the gun does frustrate you on this vehicle, you could quite easily run the gun stabilizer. I just feel like with the extra rotation and movement like it is, and the quite quick aim time, it's not too bad. As you do have 1.69 accuracy during movement, which is, again, not horrific. And the two combo together means the aim circle does bloom out quite a bit after movement and turning the tank. But because you've got a 1.93 second aim time, it does aim in fairly quickly. And I like the fact that I can make the camo better instead, so I can stay unspotted a little bit easier in this tank. You do have 5 degrees of gun depression, which is very Soviet, so you have to really know where you're putting yourself in the 907 to get the best out of the gun depression and have the best ability to farm up in it. 5 degrees of gun depression can be awkward, and there are obviously quite a few people that will struggle with 5 degrees of gun depression, as it can be quite annoying, as quite a few ridge lines become unavailable to you in the 907, and that does make it a little bit awkward. You've got 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters, which is pretty accurate, but like I say, sometimes this gun just misses that you sit there going, did you really miss that? But I suppose RNG giveth or RNG taketh. 5.51 second reload is 3.4, nearly 3.5k DPM, which again, like I say, isn't the best, isn't the worst. It sits in that ground where you go, right? Because a lot of tier 10 mediums are starting to push towards 3.8, 3.94k. They are way better than this in terms of DPM, which is a little bit sad, but I do think those tanks that are creeping up towards that 4k mark are probably firing a little bit too quickly as well. But there's quite a few. The thing is, for the 907, there's quite a few tanks that have 400 alpha that have way better DPM than you. I mean, if I was to go take a look at its Soviet compatriot, right, that's not a premium, but take the 430, which I don't think I have a crew in. Let's have a look. What's its DPM without a crew? That's without a crew for 390 alpha. Nearly 3.6k DPM. If you run a crew in that, it'll be nearly 4k. That's what it has to deal with in terms of the DPM on the 907. It means you've got to be a little bit more considered in how you approach fights, as quite a few mediums will out-knife fight you in terms of their DPM, so be careful of that. 264mm of penetration on the standard APCR round, 330mm of penetration on the premium heat round, and 50mm of pen on the HE round. Means you won't really struggle to pen much in general with this tank, because the APCR pen is great with fantastic velocity at 1535 meters a second. That velocity is amazing on this tank. 900 meters a second on the heat, though, means it is below average in terms of the velocity, and you've got to be careful of that, and you have to give a lot more lead to be able to hit the target. But 330 heat pen is beautiful, and it means you'll butcher everything you want to pen. 50mm of pen on the HE isn't the best in the universe, but it can be quite useful for some of the lightly armoured artillery, for example, where you can buff up to 420 damage. And because it is a tier 10 premium, you don't really get any bonuses to speak of. But yeah, that's the 907. Like I say, it's just a fairly average medium tank in general. It's not the best tank in the universe. It's also not terrible. It can be fully capable of having decent games, but on the whole, it's one that I just don't particularly enjoy that much. And for 100 million silver, well, you can't really moan with the silver because you can just earn it for free by just playing. So there is that. But yeah, there's probably other better tanks, like ones you're going to probably come up against or come and see later on in this video, right? But the 907 is still one of those tanks. If you like the Soviet 100mm gun type tanks, you might enjoy the 907. But what I'm going to do now is send you into a replay where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if the tank is a little bit of you. So, as always, enjoy the replay. So here we are with the 907, and we're on this map, which is Kasserine. And on Kasserine, with the spawns that we've got on Encounter, what I want to kind of do is push towards the position at D4, sit there because I can go hold down quite easily in a 907 because it's very low profile, which is very, very handy for the vehicle, just like it is on any of the other Soviet tier 10 medium tanks. Something that's always very, very nice about those vehicles is the fact that they are low profile, so they can fit in a lot of situations where a lot of tanks might stick out a lot more than this tank will. So if we go to the position at D4, we've got the good mobility to get there quite early, and we should be able to hopefully spot people out as they cross the AB line, get early shots. But we do have to be careful of the people that do go and sit at the position like D7, because they can quite easily shoot us in the side of the turret if we are not careful. But because of the very good concealment this has at 260 meters of still concealment, we can stay unspotted quite easily and spot out ourselves as well, like you're seeing right here. And most of the time, it'll be when we fire when we get spotted, unless we poke over a little bit too far and we get spotted by the medium tank that was crossing at A3. So we end up seeing a TD, just looking for a shot at possibly the Death Star if I can. This is where 5 degrees of gun depression can be pretty awkward in a 907, but then we take a big hit from that right-hand side, because I didn't think I'd quite be able to get shot there from them, but it happened. So we're just looking to see if we can find a shot at something like the WZ-120, or maybe the heavy tank that's over there. Artillery ends up missing us, thank goodness for me. We're going to have a look at the Projecto 66, see if he's poking out enough to get shot at, but he's not. The Ruthless then pokes out. It's like, Mr. Ruthless, don't mind if I do. So we get a nice shot into the side of him there. Sadly, we're getting spotted every time we fire, but that's because they are just within the range of which they could actually spot us every time we fire. We see the side of the Chow, put a shot into his side, tracking him in place, which is always great. Projecto 66 has pushed out into a dangerous position, which means I couldn't get a shot into his side, which we do, shutting down the Projecto 66. This is the type of position where you've always got to keep your eye on the minimap. You've always got to be aware, because people will do stuff like that Projecto 66 did, where they finally go, oh, he's distracted, I'll push, and then they give you an easy shot. And some tanks will also pop up on the maps when they're going to poke out to shoot at you, and if you notice they get spotted on the map like that Ruthless in that position there, you can go, oh no, I don't want to take that hit, and pull back. Now, with the tank being quite good hull down, I was quite confident in going against that 183 there in the Ruthless, hull down and not taking a hit. But it's still something you've got to be careful of, because he does catch a shot at those cupolas on top, which can happen. It's going to be a very bad time for you, because they can pen them and it can be pretty frustrating. But the E5 is driven out, giving us a nice shot in the side. I was hoping to get maybe another shot in here, but we actually have the side of his, well, the front of his turret as he turned there. The Ruthless pokes back out, and we just about avoid the shot. And again, that is all about the awareness, because I was always keeping my eye on the map, waiting for that Ruthless to poke out at some point to try and get a shot at us, because I always felt like it was going to happen. He was going to try and chance it and try and put a shot in to get rid of us if he could. Now that E5 ends up ducking out, so we can't quite get a shot at him, but our Ruthless says, no, Mr. E5, no escape for you. And we're up to 1,854 damage with 2.3k assist. We actually get another shot into the Ruthless, who's starting to run after our heavy tank down below. Can't quite, well, we can just about see the top of his little machine gun port on that E4 type turret that the Ruthless has, and thankfully the shot actually penned that. That was a questionable shot, because it's one that even 264 penetration on the standard APCR can sometimes bounce on, because the E4 cupola is just a little bit troll to shoot at. But it was nice to be able to get that shot in, and it worked. We're at 2.4k with 2.3k assist, and there's a heavy tank in the Chaug down below, and I think, okay, Mr. Chaug, I might just YOLO past you to get rid of you. Because if I YOLO past him, get up close and personal with him, there's a likelihood he could end up bouncing us. He's already fired, so he's got a long reload. And that way I can distract him for my friends to be able to start shooting him. So we get up close and personal, he bounces off our turret front, we bounce off his side, but we're also distracting him for our friends to start putting shots in. But he just doesn't get distracted with us, which means we've got easy shots into the side and back of his turret. I shoot him in the back of the turret in the hope that I might damage his ammo rack, but the mouse rams him to death and finishes him off. We now got shots at the CS59, which we put a shot in on the move, and you can see even though we don't run the gun stabilizer on this tank, the accuracy is still okay. It just occasionally misses shots that if you were running the gun stabilizer, you would probably definitely hit. And the Waffle E100 ends up finishing off the CS59 there. I was hoping to get maybe a shot or two more into that guy, but sadly, Waffle with its autoloader just goes, absolutely not, you're not allowed any more damage on that. Meaning there's two tanks left on the enemy team. It is a heavy tank and a tank destroyer. And, well, you can see what the heavy tank is. He's at A0, not really been doing anything for his team up there. But we're going to go and try and close the distance, load the heat, because it is a Type 5 heavy. And we should be able to get through that guy quite easily. And I'm fully expecting the TD to be somewhere around here as well, since we've had full map control for quite a bit of this. And I'm not quite sure where he could have slipped away to. And there we go. It's a Sturm Tiger. Now, having the heat is a bit awkward now, because I kind of was hoping that maybe I could get round and track him and pen him. But heat rounds might get absorbed. So we just aim for that shot, and we end up just penning it anyway. Get up behind the Sturm Tiger so that it makes it very difficult for him to get his gun on us. put a shot into his back end. We've got to be careful here because he could end up flipping us if we're not careful. But he gets shut down by the T57 Heavy. We're now a little bit stuck where we are, but the Type 5 Heavy is also about to get finished off. And we finished the game with a pretty average total there for a Tier 10 medium tank in 4,055 damage with the 2.3k assist. I mean, 6k combined. Pretty average game, but it showed off what the 907 can do. The DPM being sort of okay, gun handling being okay at times, the mobility being pretty nice with the camo as well. It's just an alright tank, but yeah, that's the 907. So now we're on to the American Tier 10 heavy tank, the T58 Heavy. Another one of the tanks that's available for 100 million silver. And it's one that a lot of people will be familiar with, because I believe it was on the Ultimate Season Pass of one of the seasons that have gone, maybe in the last 2 years. And it's a tank that I very much enjoy. It's a bit of an unorthodox auto-loading tank, because the clip, for the potential of the clip in general, for, what is it, 2,200 odd in terms of its clip potential, reloads very, very quickly. But in terms of its intro clip, it is pretty long, which is why it's an unorthodox auto-loader, because it's one that you have to bear with, which can be a bit frustrating for people, but it's one of those tanks that you don't want to be going, I'm an auto-loader, I'm going to yell at this person and clip them out, because it won't go well for you, as they will probably put 3-4 shots into you at the same time as you deleting their whole tank, because this thing can delete whole tanks if it wants to. So, yeah. The gun can be derpy. The armour on it is not the best. Very reminiscent of the T57 Heavy in terms of how the armour works, where you will get some good bouncers, but generally, if they decide to shoot you in the lower plate or in the turret cheeks, they will quite easily go through it. If they hit you in this section here, the likelihood is they'll bounce, but they could also hit your cupola on top. So there's something you've got to be careful of the T58 Heavy. It's not the most well-armoured, brawling heavy tank in the universe. It's all about being that support auto-loading tank where you slap out those big rounds from this gun and dish out a lot of damage with the auto-loader. And just put yourself in that good position to catch people out. So, without further ado, what do I run in terms of equipment? Well, I run the optics, gun stabilizer, and the gun laying drive. Gun laying drive to get the aim time down on this vehicle, because the aim time isn't the best. Gun stabilizer to get the best out of the accuracy during rotation and movement, so that the aim circle doesn't bloom out that much. And the GLD works with that to be able to get the aim time down, so once it does bloom out, it aims in even quicker, because it can be painful in that regard. Optics to be able to spot for ourselves at 512 meters of view range, which helps us be able to spot our targets at good range and then start dishing out the damage with these 750 alpha bombs that this thing drops, which can be super duper satisfying. And then in terms of a crew, I do run, if we find the right crew, here we go, T58 Heavy, Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Rapid Aim. Rapid Aim to make the turret traverse better so I can get the tank's turret and gun snapped onto target as quickly as possible. You could quite easily drop that for something like Deadeye, especially since the module damage is quite high for the caliber of the gun. So you could do that to increase the chance of doing module damage by 6%, increasing your chance of doing ammo racks or fires. Or run clutch braking so the tank turns quicker if you wanted to. Or you could run armor angling to reduce the amount of damage coming into the tank by 5%. It's down to you and how you want to play the vehicle, as always. All 3 gun perks to try and help this gun out as much as possible, because it can be just a derpy gun, so you want to help it out as much as you can. Trap Mechanic, because I do get stuck in with this vehicle, and it's quite nice to be able to get the tracks back on quicker, especially if I've already burnt the repair kit. And sometimes it's nice to be able to get the tracks back on quicker without having to burn the repair kit, because I might be in a situation where, you know what, I want to get the tracks back on. I don't want to sit around and wait for the full 10 seconds it is without Trap Mechanic, but I don't have to burn the repair kit, so it's nice to be able to get the tracks back on quicker. And the other 5 perks you'll run in general on every single World War II tank. And in terms of the stats of the tank, well, actually, let's have a quick look at the modules first. So here's the ammo racks on the T58 Heavy. 2 massive ammo racks below the turret, which means this thing's quite easy to ammo rack if you shoot it directly below the turret there. The engine bay is there at the back of the tank. If you shoot it in that back end, it's quite likely to damage it. And you have a 20% internal fire chance, meaning you are quite likely to get set on fire when you get shot in that back end. So you have to be careful of that in the T58 Heavy tank. And that's where the crew sits in the T58 too. So let's have a look at the statistics of the vehicle. So, with it fully kitted out, it's got a 35.4 km/h top speed, 810 horsepower engine, which is 13.73 horsepower per ton ratio, which means it does hit 35, but it kind of is slow and sluggish to get up to that top speed, but you do get there eventually. 32 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed is fairly slow. Not the slowest in the universe. When you're getting below 30, that's where you're starting to get really slow. But 32 isn't the slowest in the universe, but it's also not very quick. So it's something that you might think about helping out with clutch braking and stuff like that. All three terrain resistances don't particularly hold the tank back too badly, although soft can, if you hit soft terrain, it can feel the difference in terms of your mobility on that. 512 meters of view range is very good for this vehicle, means you can spot for yourself really efficiently, and then find your targets at good range and just dump out this clip. 41.35 degrees a second on the turret traverse is faster than the tracks, which is very, very nice, and we have helped that out with rapid aim, so the turret traverse on this vehicle can be very, very nice, which is why we do it. 1.42 accuracy during rotation is very poor, mixed with a 1.7 accuracy during movement, means the aim circle does bloom out a lot, which is why we've really helped the aim time out with the GLD and got it down to 2.27 seconds on the aim time, which still isn't that great, but it's a lot better than it was. And because the aim circle is pretty large, it's nice to be able to get that aim circle down quickly with the aim time. As 1.42, like I say, is poor. But 1.7 isn't too bad on the accuracy during movement, it's the rotation that really does you in. 8 degrees of gun depression means you are very flexible on a ridgeline, just like a lot of American vehicles in the T58 Heavy, and that is pretty nice for the vehicle. You got 26.74 second reload, which is apparently 3.2k DPM, but you don't really pay attention to that too much with autoloaders, as it's all about the burst damage, realistically. As you do have a 3-shot 155mm gun with a 7.5 second intra-clip reload, so it is a long intra-clip reload when you're dishing out the damage in the T58 Heavy, which is why I say it's an unconventional autoloader. It's more like the Italian tank destroyers in that regard, where the clip for the potential reloads very, very quickly, but the intra-clip is quite long, so you have to be a bit more conservative with how you dish out the damage. Like I say, you can't just go, I'm an autoloader, I'm going to YOLO rush this person and clip them out, as it won't go that well for you, because it takes 15 seconds from firing the first shot to dump all three. You have 276mm of penetration on the standard AP, with 370 penetration on the premium heat rounds, which is just phenomenal, and 120 pen on the HE rounds, which again is fantastic for HE rounds, with 750 damage on the standard AP and heat, 950 damage on the HE. Now, I don't really use the HE ever in this vehicle, as it's very, very situational, but it could be quite memey to use on the T58 Heavy, as you could really dish out quite a bit of damage with that, with 120 pen, as 120 pen will pen quite a few tanks in quite a few spots. So it's one of those things that you could do it as a meme with the T58 Heavy quite easily. You've got 870 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, with 826 meters a second shell velocity on the premium heat rounds. So the velocity is way below average in terms of the velocity. It's really not very nice, and you have to give a lot of lead to hit the targets with the T58 Heavy. It just adds to the feel that the gun can be quite derpy. You do have 0.28 accuracy at 100 meters though, which isn't derpy, but it can be just quite frustrating in terms of how its gun performs. And again, tier 10 premium, so you don't really have much in the way of bonuses. But yeah, that's the T58 Heavy. Like I say, it's a slugger of a tank. It's a satisfying tank when you get those clips that work and you dump out the shells and you clip someone for full health. It can be quite satisfying, but it takes a lot to be able to get that out of it, because you have to really be conservative, put yourself in the right spot, and then make the gun work. Because like I said, the gun can be derpy, and it can be pretty frustrating in that regard for the T58 Heavy. But I do quite enjoy the vehicle, as it's quite an enjoyable tank to be able to get the most out of. But yeah, that's the T58 Heavy. What I'm going to do now is send you into the replay where you can watch it in action, see how it handles, and yeah, just get a general feel for it. So as always, everybody, I'll see you in the replay. So here we are in the replay with the T58 Heavy, and we're on Erlenberg, which isn't the most ideal map in the universe for something like the T58 Heavy, because the engagement ranges are a bit longer in terms of the distance, so that has more chance for the derpy gun to decide. Yeah, I'm just gonna miss that shot because it's just what the T58 Heavy does. But we've got 8 degrees of gun depression, so we can be flexible on the many ridge lines that are on this map. Like I said, the mobility is average for a heavy tank. 35.4 kilometers an hour is average heavy tank mobility in World War II. So you can get to the front line just as quick as most others anyway. But when you do get this gun stuck in, oh, it's super satisfying because it just slaps for 750 alpha. And because you've got 276mm of penetration, you can pen so many things that a lot of other heavy tanks can't just with your standard rounds because it's just that nice. And then you've got 370 heat pen on top of that. And 370 heat pen is, well, absolutely filthy. And just butchers. It really does butcher through the front of a lot of tanks. So this clip can be satisfying in the fact that you can clip tanks out with it, but it takes quite a long time to do it, and there's a lot of things that enemy tanks, once you've shot them once, a lot of tanks will go, oh no, and pull back and get safe anyway, so you can't quite get all 3 shells out quite that easily with the vehicle, unless you truly catch someone out in the open. But we've come to this position here, and Mr. IS-4, well, hello, sir. We put 1 shot into the IS-4, and you can see I'm not just sitting there because I'm an autoloader going, aha, I can pen an IS-4 easily in the side. I'm just going to sit here waiting to dump my clip. I fired 1 and pulled back. You play it very muchly like a normal tank, where you fire, you pull back. You don't sit there like an autoloader that fires quite quickly, where you just sit going dump, dump, dump. You fire, pull back, wait for your clip to go in, and then come after them. So the Mil-2 in front of us is kind of a raid boss. It's a tank that we don't really want to see, like the Kranvan, for example, as well, because it's just very awkward to fight on a ridgeline like that, as it does have that 12 degrees of gun depression and very good turret armor. But a machine, however, with his very thin side armor, 30mm of side armor, we can quite easily overmatch that with our gun, and that's what we did as we penned it at that awkward angle. Mr. Sheridan making mistakes, and we take a couple of hits there, but we shut down the Sheridan, finishing our first clip of the tank with 2,023 damage, which, you know what, we'll take. We got 1,142 assistance damage as well, because we got a bit of assistance on the people we spotted. And then, this is what I like about the T58 Heavy. Yes, the intra-clip reload is long. It is long. Very much reminiscent of the Italian TDs. But the actual clip reload is quick. And for saying we've got such a high clip potential, the clip comes back in very quickly, and you can do just stuff like that to the IS-4, where you put 1 shot into his side, we bounce the second shot off his side, which is really quite unfortunate, but the third shot goes in, and we finish him off. Up to 3.2k damage with 2 kills. We got really unfortunate there with that shot on the IS-4 side, the second shot, but that's the gun, where it dropped really quite low, and basically just did track damage to the IS-4, whereas more accurate guns obviously would have just penned that, as it would have hit directly where we were aiming. So we're nearly reloaded again in our T58 Heavy, and my next target is the Mil-2. I would really like to get rid of the Mil-2 if I can. I've got to chance it, try and keep myself covered with the building on my left, and go after them. But we get detected the moment we go over, and I don't particularly want to start taking shots from camping TDs that might be down the 5 line somewhere. So we're just being exceptionally careful. As soon as we started to go over towards the Mil-2 there, we just got detected. And now that could have been the Mil-2 looking at us, but it also could have been any sort of TD. The Highlander comes out of nowhere, gets a shot straight through the side of our turret there, which is really unfortunate. We maneuver ourselves into a better position, put a shot through the side of the Highlander. He pens us through the turret yet again, takes a hit from someone else in the side, but we're now down to a 1 shot for just about everything. And that is a bit of the frustration with the armor on the T58 Heavy, as we are quite a tall tank, so it's quite easy for people to shoot you in the turret on ridge lines like that, because you expose quite a lot of your tank very easily. And he had absolutely no problem. He just went, hello turret cheeks, I pen you now. And straight through the turret cheeks, which, yeah, a bit frustrating, but it's one of those things. It's more of a tank that is a bit more glass cannony, right? Tank that you don't really expect to bat. You don't want to sit there going, aha, I'm a heavy tank, I'm going to bounce everything, lol, and then dish out all the damage. You want to sit there in as a support tank, not truly being the focus of everyone's attention, but then just punching the rounds into people, and then know that your armor is good enough that you can get ricochets and go, aha, I bounced you, you know, and you can get some nice ricochets in that regard. Especially when you are hull down. Yes, the cheeks do stay flat, but if they hit anywhere that isn't the turret cheeks, they can just ricochet, which can be quite nice. So I'm really looking for somewhere to get these shots off, but because of the fact that we're now a one-shot for pretty much everything, and artillery is looking at us, I don't want to die yet. I really don't, but we did spot the E4, which has fed us some beautiful assistance damage. The artillery did fire at us a second ago, and because we were arty detected there, I was pretty confident he wasn't going to shoot at us again, because he'd have a bit of a decent reload there. We got all of the spotting on that E4, which we'll take, which gave us 3k assistance, and we're just looking for a shot at the 430. We can just see his back end around the corner of that building, so when he puts his tracks back on, I was really hoping that he'd drop back into a position I can shoot, and he just went, I tease you now, you can get my tank bottom. No, you're not allowed it. Nope, absolutely not, and he just teased us, pulled back down the building so we couldn't shoot it, but that one goes true, and thankfully the 430U went, yes, you can shoot me now, it's fine, and we will take that shot. Up to 2.9k assistance with 4.7k damage. Pretty damn nice game so far. I mean, quick maths was what, 7.6, 7.7k combined. Pretty decent, and there's only 4 tanks left on the enemy team. There is the Highlander, which we'd like to get some justice on, but the E4 shuts him down, and 2 TDs and an artillery. And the question is, where are these guys, right? Because they could be just about anywhere. If I was saying the TDs, I would go with the fact that someone's pinging K2 there, so there's going to be someone up there, and there we go. Actually, both TDs are up at K2. The artillery was more than likely at where it's just been pinged C1, because that's the kind of general direction where the shot came from earlier on at us. And this is where the T58 Heavy is just like any other heavy tank, where we're having to start chasing after the damage. And because we don't have the best mobility in the universe, it means those that are obviously a bit quicker than us will get there first. And that can be a bit of frustration because you're going, no, don't do it. Don't kill them, please. I just want to shoot something more. Please don't shoot them, right? But we're now getting into a position where there's a possibility we could get shots at these TDs, because they were at K2. So if we can get to that ridgeline in front of where those buildings are, that should give us the leverage to be able to get the gun on target. Maybe we'll spot them for our friends, who knows. So there's the first TD. It's a 114 SP2, and he gets shut down by the 780, who gets there first. There is still another TD knocking around somewhere. It's a Contra Caro 1 Mark II, and the SDRV 1030 is trying to look for shots at him. The artillery hits him. Sadly for me, he is below that ridgeline. But a Contra Caro 1 Mark II is quite good at being hull down. So there is every likelihood he could bounce my team here, and we'll be able to get in to finish him off. But he starts taking hits. And can we get the kill? No! No! Sod's law. We get there just as he dies. Artillery finds its natural place in the water. And, well, Mr. Artillery, we've tracked you in the water. So if he drowns now, we would get that kill and we get all the damage. But we get just in time to reload the intraclip reload and finish off the artillery. And finish off with the 3 kills, 5.7k damage, 3.1k assistance, the ace tank of the high caliber, with that 1653 base XP. A really nice game there for the T58 Heavy, fully showing off what it's capable of. The fact that the armor can be paper at times, the gun can be a bit derpy, but it's super satisfying when those clips come off. And yeah, that's the T58 Heavy in general. So now we're on to the third and final tank of the video. And yes, it is the infamous SU-152 Taran, a tank that is utterly bonkers. Generally, it is an amazingly OP tank, and that's because its DPM is insane for the alpha it has, penetration is amazing, the mobility is good but not great, because it does have a great top speed at 63 kilometers an hour, but it's really sluggish to get up to it. Your concealment is also stupidly good, with having very good view range, which just makes the whole tank very overpowered. It is just generally an overpowered tank. And this is the one tank that I expected to sell well, and is the one that probably confirms that a lot of people have 100 million silver knocking around, because there is so many Tarans in the matchmaker again right now at tier 10. It is unbelievable, which means, yeah, it's probably sold very well. Because, like, the game I had earlier on was 4v4 on Tarans, and you're sitting there going, this many people really have 100 million silver? I mean, I have 819 million silver, but a lot of people seem to have that much silver knocking around, as you see certain tanks just randomly pop up in the matchmaker with them going on sale for silver, like this vehicle. It's not surprising, though. Like I say, when it did go on sale for silver, it was always going to sell well because it is just OP. But without further ado, in terms of the equipment, it's got advanced loader, the camo net, optics to be able to get the fantastic view range at 499 meters of view range, which helps you spot so far in advance of yourself that you can just abuse people with the DPM. The camo net to get the concealment down to 237 meters of still concealment, which again means you can abuse bushes, stay unspotted really easily, and just dish out mad amounts of damage. And the advanced loader to be able to have that amazing DPM that this vehicle has. And then in terms of the crew, I do run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Muffled Shot, and Green Thumb. All 4 of these camo perks, because I'm playing on the fact that the camo is utterly filthy. And it really helps you to stay unspotted in so many situations that you can get 1, 2, maybe even 3 shots out before you ever get spotted. Which, with the alpha of the Taran, means you basically 3-shot something. Against tier 9s, probably 2-shot them. Tier 8s, yeah, 2-shot them quite easily, and you butcher them because your penetration is that good. And Steady Aim to generally make the accuracy 10% better on this vehicle. And then the other perks you're going to run in general on every tank in World War II. Let's have a look at the modules of the Taran. As you can see with the modules, that's where the engine blocks are on this vehicle. It does have a 12% internal fire chance, and if you get shot anywhere in the front, it's quite likely you will get set on fire. The ammo racks for the tank are in the back of the turret and generally in the back of the tank, so that's something that you could try and aim for when you're shooting this thing, and especially when you've got HE loaded, you can go through the back of the turret, aim low on the back of the turret, and you will damage the ammo rack in that regard. And that is where the crew sits in the SU-152 Taran. Let's have a look at the statistics of the tank with it fully kitted out. As you can see, you've got a 63 km/h top speed with an 18 km/h reverse speed, 480 horsepower engine, a 17.73 horsepower per ton ratio. Now, the horsepower per ton ratio is actually pretty good, but it doesn't feel that great in-game. It really is quite sluggish. You generally go between 45 to 55, and unless you're going slightly downhill, that's where you get the 63 km/h out of this SU-152 Taran. So generally, it doesn't feel quite as good in terms of the mobility, but it's still got good mobility for what it does. 34 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means it does turn quite quickly. I mean, it's not the quickest in the universe, but it can turn fairly quickly to be able to get away if it needs to. 237 meters of still concealment is bonkers. Very, very good camo, meaning it's quite easy to stay unspotted in this tank, with 255 meters of on-the-move concealment, meaning it's quite easy to get to position unspotted because of the silent driving. 28.24 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed is actually pretty quick for a turreted tank destroyer. Usually turreted tank destroyers, turrets turn very, very slowly. This actually turns pretty quickly, which is quite nice for it. 1.34 accuracy during rotation is not good, with 3.59 accuracy during movement. Again, it really isn't that good, but most of the time you're going to be in a stealthy bush location, so it doesn't affect you too much as you're not firing that often on the move in this tank. With 5 degrees of gun depression, that can be awkward on a ridge line, but there are many ridge lines that you can literally just poke over and stay unspotted really easily before you fire. So, yeah, 5 degrees of gun depression is awkward, but you don't feel it too badly on this tank because you can stay unspotted so easily. 13.42 second reload is 4.2k DPM, which is absolute insanity for 950 alpha. With the fact that you stay unspotted really easily as well, in combination with the fact that you spot people really easily, yeah, that's what adds to this tank just being completely OP and really frustrating to play against at tier 10. You got 0.3 accuracy or 100 meters, which is superbly accurate, and 2.49 second aim time, which means the gun does aim in fairly slowly, but again, most of the time you are fairly stationary when you're firing this gun, so it's just one of those things. 303 penetration on the standard AP round, with 395 pen on the premium heat round, and 90mm of penetration on the HE rounds, means you have very, very good penetration, and you can pen most targets, well, every target you're going to face, and you can butcher them with the heat rounds too. The HE rounds can be useful in the fact that you can do 1200 damage with that HE round through lightly armoured vehicles, and they can be pure filth. 960 meters a second shell velocity on the AP, with 760 meters a second shell velocity on the heat round and the HE, means that the velocity is very poor in terms of the heat and the HE, and just below average in terms of the AP round. So it's something that you've just really got to adjust your aim for to be able to fire at distance in this tank. And because it's a premium tank, you're not really going to be able to make that much in terms of extra silver or anything like that, because it doesn't have that greater bonuses. But yeah, that is the SU-152 Taran. It is a tank that I really wish would get nerfed, because there is many aspects about this vehicle that are just stupid. But it is available for 100 million silver, and I can't leave it out of this video because people will be asking about it. And yeah, it's just absolutely insane, generally. But yeah, let's send you over to the replay of this vehicle where you can watch it in action, see how it handles, and you just see it in general action. So as always, everybody, enjoy the replay. So here we are in the replay with the SU-152 Taran, and as you can see, we're on this map, which is El Alamein. And on El Alamein, what I'm going to do is go to the rocky outcrop at H4 so that I can sort of reverse backwards onto the little rock outcrop, spot out the people that might be sitting at F5, or the people that go to E45. They won't really spot me that easily because I'm a Taran and my camo is stupid. And then I can slap out this 950 alpha round, which means I can just dish out the damage super duper quickly. They will spot me, but what you want to be doing in that sort of situation is poking the turret over the back of the tank so that you can pull forward as quickly as possible when you do get spotted. And this is what I'm talking about with the SU-152 Taran's top speed. So we were going across flat there, and we were realistically going at about 45-50 kilometers an hour, and then we hit a downward slope. And that's where we sped up to 56, 57. And that is, like I say, what I'm on about with the top speed of the Taran. It says it's got a 63 kilometers an hour top speed. Your power to weight's pretty good. But generally, you don't really hit the top speed all that often unless you're going downhill. You generally go between that 45 to 55 kilometers an hour, which is still good. It's still a good top speed. But in terms of powering along that area that we just went along the J line, if you're in something like the Gorilla 15, for example, which is a very comparable tank at this point, you would have been powering along and got to this position way before that. So, we got to the position here at H4, and look where our medium tanks are, at G12. They've pushed very aggressively and found absolutely no one, so it's time to move up. We get a shot slapped into the Leopard 1 there for 899, and we're going to push up to the position at F3, because we should be able to get shots across at people that camp at C5, maybe get another shot down on the Leopard, although he just got shot down, and from here we should be able to shoot the people at D7 as well if they push around that corner. So as we're coming round, we end up seeing a 257. It's like, hello, Mr. 257. Don't mind if I do, as we slap a shot through his lower plate there. Basically half health in him, which is just what the SU-152 Taran does. And we're just looking to see if we can get a second shot at him. But then we notice the heavy tank down in the middle at D6, and it's an IS-4. So we're just going to aim the shot up, put ourselves in a place where we might be able to get a shot at him, and there we go. He crosses the gap just as he was got unspotted, and we put a big shot into him there, putting us on to 2.6k damage. Just seeing if the IS-4 will give us another shot or drive out, but he doesn't seem to want to. We see the M48A5, and it's like, hello, Mr. M48A5. We put a shot into him, breaking his turret for 936. Just waiting for the reload, and then we can hopefully finish off that M48. And this is the mental thing, right? We've got 950 alpha, and we reload in 12.8 seconds with the food boost. That is absolutely mental. So we're just aiming the shot up on the M48, and because we've got such good penetration, we go straight through really easily, and we're on to 4.1k damage so far. The VKB and the IS-4 are currently below the ridgeline, so we can't quite fathom a shot at them as they are in an awkward spot. But we can see our medium tank pushing up to C4 as well. And I'm really hoping that he might see their campers. But then we see the VKB on the map. He's pushing up. So we're going to try and go for the pixel shot here. An 881 straight through the side of the turret. Oof, painful for that guy. We're up to 5k damage of 412 assistance. But we got spotted for what feels like the second time in this game. It's probably because it is. And so we get out of dodge as quickly as possible, so their opposition tank destroyer that was spotted at B5 can't get a shot at us. And in fact, there's the opposition Taran. Gonna aim the shot in, put the big shot in there for 939. He's already fired, so I felt confident that I could do that. Just backing up to see if I can leverage a shot at him again for when I'm loaded. But he takes another hit, and that means he pulls back. The Griller 15 gets a shot into our 140, then an AVRE finishes him off. So I pull up on top of the ridgeline looking for a shot into the Grill 15, but then I realise, no, this is a bad idea, right? I shouldn't be doing this. I'm detected. Something could shoot at me quite easily. So I decide to run away. Now this is where the HE round could be quite useful, because we've got 90 penetration, and 1200 damage means I can one-shot that Grill 15 if I pen it with HE. So we load the HE round ready to go so that we can try and get rid of him. Up to nearly 6k damage, and it's quite easy to switch to a HE round in the Taran because of just how fast we reload. I mean, 12.4 second reload with the food boost. What now? Okay, super duper quickly. The Grill 15, sadly for me, starts running away. So we can't quite get the surprise in him and put the big HE round in. We are spotted and detected though, and we haven't noticed it, but the Taran actually got spotted on our right. We put the HE round into the Taran for 512 and finish him off. Get very lucky, though, that a shot just whizzes past our tank, so we could have died quite easily there, but we get away with it, and we're just going to pull forward to see if we can get a shot into the Grill 15, but the Leopard 1 ends up finishing him off. There's 4 tanks left on the enemy team. 2 our tank destroyers are currently at E6 and E7, E8. So what we're going to do is go close the distance, try and help them out against this 268 version 5, and wherever else the rest of the tank destroyers / heavy tank is. So there's the 4005. If we can get rid of that 4005, that will be great, because that is a big 183mm gun. We don't want to get hit with that. So we're powering in as quickly as possible. As you can see, going over cross flat ground here again, 53, 55 kilometers an hour. Generally what we're doing, not getting near that 63 kilometer an hour top speed. So just as we get here, it's like, hello, Mr. 4005, let me get rid of your gun. So we finish him off with the shot, and just as we start to pull back after finishing him off, the Chow gets spotted out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh no. Version 5 turns his turret and finishes us off, and sadly that was the end of our game. But we still had a pretty good game there for the Taran at 6.8k damage and 611 assistance, and in terms of base XP, that's going to be a fairly average game for us as well. At 1335 base XP with that 6.8k damage, the high caliber, and a second class, which for 6.8k damage, yeah, that's the Taran. Ridiculously overpowered tank, but there you go. It's available for 100 million silver, and that is all 3 of the tanks that are currently available at tier 10 for 100 million silver. Now, if you did like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!